Hi everyone, I just wanted to catch you before this video started. This is my very first YouTube video that I have created myself, so I apologise if I sound nervous. Hi all, this is my first Reddit submission, and as the story I've chosen is my own, I'll recount it as accurately as possible. I guess it would be helpful to tell you a little bit about me before the story begins. I'm a rather skinny girl in my 20s, not paper thin, but not exactly intimidating. The town I grew up in Northern California, is incredibly quaint and safe. Not much of a magnet for crime or creeps. It was so low in crime, in fact, the local papers' highlights on police reports were often a joke, describing calls from locals about skateboarders and loud music complaints. The night in question happened about 6 months ago, when I'd been dating my new boyfriend for just a few months. He was from my hometown as well. I'd been classmates with his big brother since middle school and had no idea that he'd even had other brothers. There were 3 boys in total. At this time in our relationship, I was sleeping over about once or twice a week. He lived with his entire family, with the exception of his eldest brother. My boyfriend manages a shop almost 2 hours away from our part of the bay, so he often went to bed before me. I've always been a bit of an insomniac and loved my alone time, so I didn't mind being the only one awake. I drink tons of water throughout the day and night, so I was often running down the stairs to the kitchen to refill my glass from a filter they kept in the fridge. It's relevant now to mention the layout of this kitchen. It's a big open floor plan connected to the dining area hallway with a mini set of stairs that leads up to 3 bedrooms and wall dividing the kitchen and living room. Right off the opposite side of the kitchen is a clear glass back door leading to a deck and a reasonable sized backyard with tons of fruit trees. Truthfully, I've always been a little spooked about clear glass doors, especially at night. My boyfriend's family was very casual about it. They often left the door unlocked, and sometimes during the day, even when no one was home, they'd leave it open for the cats. I've lived in a few bad neighbourhoods, so I have a problem being that trusting, even in a town like ours. So I would often lock it for them, especially at night. I'd locked it earlier that afternoon, in fact, and I am thankful of that to this day. It was probably a little after 1 a.m. when I was ready to consider laying down to go to sleep, but I wanted to refill my water glass one more time before settling in. I tiptoed through the hall and down the steps, working my way to the kitchen. I knew I was the only person awake in the house, so I hadn't bothered to put on my pants, and I was walking around in a short robe. My family left 2 small lights on downstairs while everyone slept, in case someone did come down for something in the middle of the night. One of them was near the glass door. The other was close to the set of stairs. I was just walking past the counter, and I always instinctively looked over at the glass door. I'd never seen anything before, but I had to humour myself with this little ritual every time I came down there at night. But this time, my heart leapt out of my chest, because I thought I'd actually seen a glimpse of a shape in the yard. Deer often passed through the back, but this didn't seem like a deer. After a few seconds of staring and no longer seeing what I thought I had, I shook it off and chalked it up to me being paranoid. I've always been a bit of a wuss with scary stuff, and as a child I often had an active imagination. Trying to get back to my task, I opened the fridge door, took the water pitcher out and poured myself a nice cool glass. I put the pitcher back on the shelf and stood contemplating whether a few strawberries sounded appetising at the moment when a tapping noise directed my attention to my right, back at the glass door. I was terrified to close that fridge door and look over, but I knew I had to. It wasn't the wind lightly hitting the glass. It wasn't the light tapping off a branch. It was a very deliberate knocking. I closed the fridge door slowly and eventually made myself look over to the door. My worst nightmare had been realised. Standing on the other side of the glass was a man I'd never seen before. He was older, maybe in his 50s. His haircut and facial hair sort of reminded me of Tommy Chung, and I had tried to let that similarity comfort me. even for a second, and a little part of me hoped maybe this guy was just trying to scare me for some laughs. But I didn't, and he wasn't. He didn't say anything, or even move at first. It was a stare down. I couldn't move for the first few seconds. I was completely frozen in place. He seemed to notice. An amazing smile spread across his face. This was not a Dennis the Menace kind of smile. This was sinister. He made a kissing gesture against the glass. The first time he made contact with the door, and it made me push back to rest against the counter a few steps away. This move didn't seem to please him, probably because of my sudden close proximity to the knife block. It was at this moment he made his first attempt to actually open the back door. I silently praised whatever force in the universe for the fact that I was more paranoid than the rest of the family was. But I still didn't feel safe with such a thin layer of glass dividing us. I blindly groped for at the knife block, which is now within my reach, and I grabbed the thickest handle I could and held the thing firmly. My hands were shaking, my entire body was, but I held my ground and gestured threateningly before stating very clearly, "Get the fuck out of here or I will cut your dick off." The man appeared to be a sick combination of angry and silently impressed. He yanked again at the door and smacked against the glass of his hand, probably in an attempt to frighten me into backing down. It did just the opposite. It led me to finally using my sense and yelling for my boyfriend and every family member in the house until I heard stirring from upstairs. My boyfriend's brother was the first to run up the stairs. He had a bedroom on the bottom floor beside the garage. He flipped the light switch on in the kitchen and caught enough of the position I was in and how tightly I was gripping the knife, staring the back door in horror. The guy had bolted by the time Jared had flipped on the switch to illuminate the kitchen. Jared stomped over the back door and examined things closely, flipping on the light next to the back door, which turned on the back deck light, which did very little to light up the yard. Neither of us could see him. It seemed he had gotten away. The backyard was split level, half of it on the floor of the kitchen, and the second half down of Jared's, in other words, bottom floor room. There were plenty of places to run. My boyfriend's brother turned to me and offered a sympathetic hand on my shoulder, telling me it was okay to put the knife down now, and asked me to explain what happened. By this time, everyone but my boyfriend had come downstairs to see what was going on, and I only had to tell the story to them once. My boyfriend sleeps like the dead. He felt incredibly guilty when his brother and I went upstairs to wake him and inform him of what had happened. My boyfriend's mother called the police right away. It only took them 5 minutes to get there, which was a big relief. They sent 5 cops into the backyard, searching it and the surrounding yards for nearly an hour, and they turned up nothing, until a few days later, when the neighbour about 6 houses down reported to finding a switchblade in their backyard that didn't belong to anyone in the house. The cops had a lot of gusto about the situation. They were outraged something like this could happen in their town, but there wasn't much they could do without more information. To give us a card to put on the fridge to call if we remembered anything else of importance. The thing that terrorised me the most about that night isn't what happened, what could have happened. If the guy had sneaked into the backyard using the gate on the side of the house, if I had just thought of trying to open the door on the side of the house that led into the garage, which is always unlocked, there might not have been a locked glass door between us that night. He could have hurt my boyfriend's brother, or me, very easily. All of us, in fact. But he probably assumed no one would ever leave a door that exposed unlocked. I'm so grateful he didn't try. So creepy Tom Chung and your dirty switchblade, let's never meet.